Blessings again, y'all. I've been having an amazing time on the road with my daddy. Yeah. So I've been chilling with my daddy. Actually, I ain't been chilling. It's been a nice time. I've listened to R&B music, and I've heard him in it. I've listened to some hip-hop music, and I've heard him in it. I've seen things. I've listened to worship music, and I've praised him in it. He's given me lyrics to songs. I recorded them. It's been beautiful. But I was given something, and I really wish that I was able to pull over and like get in the word with this, but I'll be able to, elaborate and expand off of this at another time, at some point in time. For those of you who don't know, I am Brandy. But the words chosen for the glory. Ooh. Chosen for the glory. Chosen for the glory. And I pray that God gives me the words to get this out, and that you can grasp this. Holy Spirit, be with your daughter, and let what is needed come forth. Let the words that you need to come forth through me come forth, so that whomever this is for, whomever can catch this, will receive it. Chosen for the glory. I want you guys to think back to the book of Esther. If any of you have ever read the book of Esther, and I've read it a few times, I'm going to read it again. It's not that long, but it's so interesting. It's a beautiful story. It's a beautiful story. But Esther was chosen for the glory. Esther was chosen for the glory of God to shine down upon her, to be reflected through her, and definitely for God to get glory for what happened with her all through that book. And like I said, it's not a very long book. If you remember in the beginning, the king had asked for his wife, the queen, to come and in her crown and in attire, to come before the people of the community. I'm gonna just say community. For whatever the event was at the time, because she was very beautiful to look at, and he was wanting her to come, and the queen was feeling herself a little bit too much and said no, ain't not going. You remember the Boomerang? Boomerang, the movie Boomerang with Eddie Murphy and oh, blessed God, Grace Jones. And she got mad. She ain't not going. But that's what the queen did, basically, in a nutshell. Like, I'm not coming. And she didn't. And this was very, troubling to the king. He was very upset. All of his, men and whatever, they were just like, oh my goodness. Like, this is basically, in a nutshell, so disrespectful that, the people of the town and whatnot are seeing that, the queen is being summoned, and she's basically disregarding the words of the king. Like, what is this about? This is not good for people to witness this. And the king is like, well, what can be done? What can be done about this? And in a nutshell, she basically put in motion the blessed God, the event, I'm gonna say event for her own replacement. yeah, she basically put that in motion herself by being, I'll just say difficult, being very difficult and stubborn, and the very opposite of what submissive is. How many of you have ever seen a woman who is just so disrespectful to the man that God brought her to? Like, there's no submission, no femininity, almost as if she's wearing the pants or wants to wear the pants all the time. And so, fast forward, the king begins this process and, has the women of the town or the community or kingdom or whatever, they come. It's a process that they all have to go through. And Esther, beautiful Esther, and I can't remember what her name was at the time, right now at the time, but she's included in this. And Mordecai, who worked for the king, was her uncle. And so she's in the midst of all of this, and Esther's going through the process of, and she's so submissive. Even before she made it to the king, she's so submissive. She listens to everything that she's told. She has a very meek spirit, and Esther was beautiful as well. And she's listening to what she's told, and so everything that she's told to do, she does. And because of this, during this process, Esther has favor within the king. With the king, I said within the king, girl. Esther has favor with the king. He delights in her, and he ends up favoring her above all the other women. Esther becomes chosen. Esther becomes chosen. Esther becomes queen. Esther becomes queen. And even in the midst of becoming queen, Esther has such a meek spirit. Esther has such a submissive way about herself that when her uncle, blessed God, when her uncle approaches her about a situation that is involving her people, that could be very detrimental and fatal to her people, she even tells her uncle, like, basically in a nutshell, yeah, that's my husband, but that's the king, and at the same time, because that is the king, I'm not supposed to go before him until or unless he calls for me. And so, the conversation between her and her uncle, it goes further, and he basically explains to her, like, you are still a part of us, and if you don't, exercise what is really in you, that power that you have, and go before the king, it's going to be fatal for not only us, but for you too. And so, with being chosen, God will always equip you. There's always some kind of solution, a divine solution that will come forth. And so in Esther speaking about the fast and saying, okay, you guys fast, I'm going to fast, and after that period, I'll go before the king. Whatsoever to be done will be done. And she does that. And she goes before the king. She goes before the king. And if you read the book, you will understand that it was a decree. It was a possibility of her being killed if she went before the king without him calling for her, if I'm not mistaken. Anybody. And when she went before him, none of his words to her, none of them, not one of them, even aligned with anything